Most haunted houses are said to be filled with ghosts, cursed objects, or restless spirits. But this house was different. It didn't simply scare its visitors. It made them disappear without leaving a single trace. For nearly 70 years, the abandoned mansion at the edge of Blackwood Forest had remained untouched. Its broken windows stared into the darkness like empty eyes, and its cracked walls seemed to whisper secrets that no one dared to uncover. The locals avoided it at all costs. Parents warned their children never to go near the old property after sunset. Travelers changed their routes just to stay away from it. Even wild animals refused to cross the rusted iron gate surrounding the mansion. There was only one rule everyone in town knew: if you hear your name being called from inside the house, never answer. Many laughed at the story, until they vanished. It all began on a cold October evening. The rain had been falling since morning, turning the narrow forest road into a muddy trail. Thick clouds covered the moon, and the only sound in the air was the distant rumble of thunder. 4 friends were driving toward Blackwood Forest in a black SUV. Alex was the leader of the group. He was a fearless content creator who believed every ghost story had a logical explanation. Ryan was the cameraman. He had millions of followers online because of his realistic horror investigations. Daniel was the quiet one. He loved history and had spent weeks researching the mysterious mansion. The 4th friend, Ethan, wasn't interested in ghosts at all. He joined the trip only because he needed the money they would earn from the viral video. As the vehicle approached the forest entrance, the GPS suddenly lost its signal. Ryan looked at the screen. No service. Alex smiled. Perf. Daniel looked out the window. The mansion is less than a mile away. Lightning flashed across the sky. For a brief second, they saw it, a gigantic Victorian mansion standing alone among dead trees. Its roof had partially collapsed. Its windows were completely dark. Yet somehow, it looked as if the house was watching them. Ethan forced a laugh. I already don't like this place. Nobody answered. The SUV stopped in front of the rusted gate. As soon as Alex stepped outside, an icy wind rushed through the forest. The temperature dropped so suddenly that everyone could see their breath. Ryan switched on the camera. Investigation number 27, he said into the lens. Tonight, we're exploring the infamous Blackwood Mansion, also known as the man-eating house. The gate was covered with vines and thick rust. Alex pushed it gently. Instead of resisting, it slowly opened by itself with a long, painful creak. The sound echoed through the silent forest. No birds sang. No insects buzzed. Nothing. Only silence. Daniel frowned. That's strange. What? There should be animals here. Ethan looked around nervously. There aren't any. The 4 friends crossed the gate. The moment they entered the property, the gate slammed shut behind them. The loud metallic crash echoed through the trees. Everyone turned around. Alex grabbed the gate. It wouldn't move. Ryan tried helping him. Still nothing. It's probably just the wind, Alex said, though he didn't sound convinced. They continued walking toward the mansion. Each step felt heavier than the last. The front door stood slightly open. Darkness waited beyond it. A smell of damp wood, mold, and something rotten drifted through the air. Daniel stopped walking. According to old records, he swallowed hard. The last family who lived here disappeared in one single night. Ryan lowered the camera. What happened to them? Daniel slowly shook his head. No one ever found the bodies. Another flash of lightning lit up the house. For the briefest moment, someone appeared to be standing at the upstairs window, watching them. When the darkness returned, the figure was gone. Alex looked at the others. Did anyone else see that? Nobody answered, because they had all seen it. And without realizing it, they had just taken their first step into a place that had been waiting decades for new victims. The 4 friends stood frozen outside the mansion, staring at the upstairs window. No one spoke. The figure they had seen was gone, but the feeling of being watched refused to leave. Alex took a deep breath and forced a smile. It was probably just a shadow. Ryan wasn't convinced. I've filmed haunted places before, but this feels different. Thunder roared above them. Without another word, Alex pushed the front door open. It creaked loudly as if it hadn't been opened in decades. The air inside was freezing. Dust floated through the darkness like tiny ghosts. Ryan switched on the camera light. The narrow beam revealed broken furniture, torn wallpaper, and a grand staircase disappearing into the darkness above. Every corner of the house looked abandoned. Yet strangely, nothing looked destroyed by time. It felt as if someone had been living there. Watching. Waiting. Ethan rubbed his arms. Why is it so cold in here? Daniel checked the thermometer on his watch. It just dropped to 5 degrees. That's impossible. Alex laughed nervously. Old houses can do weird things. As they stepped deeper inside, the front door slammed shut behind them with a deafening bang. Everyone jumped. Ryan spun around and grabbed the handle. Locked. He pulled harder. Nothing. It won't open. Alex joined him. Together they pushed with all their strength. The heavy wooden door didn't move even an inch. Daniel whispered, "I don't think the house wants us to leave." The words hung in the air. Then, a loud knock echoed from upstairs. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow knocks. Silence followed. Ryan aimed the camera toward the staircase. "Did you hear that?" Before anyone could answer, another sound came from the hallway. A child's laughter. Soft, distant. Then it suddenly stopped. Ethan's face turned pale. "Nope, I'm done." He pulled out his phone. No signal. Alex checked his own phone. Nothing. Even their satellite emergency device showed no connection. It was as if the house had swallowed every signal from the outside world. Daniel noticed something on the wall. A series of old family portraits. He wiped the dust from one of them. A smiling family stood in front of the mansion. A father, a mother, 2 little girls. Their faces looked completely normal. Until Ryan pointed his flashlight closer. The eyes. Every person in the painting had completely black eyes. As if someone had painted over them. Suddenly, one of the little girls smiled. Ryan gasped and stepped backward. "Did you see that?" Alex looked again. The smile was gone. "It was your imagination." Ryan wasn't so sure. The group continued into a long hallway. The wooden floor groaned beneath every step. At the end of the hallway stood an old grandfather clock. Its hands were frozen at exactly 3:33. Daniel frowned. "That's strange. The clock hasn't moved in years." Without warning, the clock began ticking. Tick, tick, tick. The sound echoed through the silent house. Then every clock inside the mansion started ticking at once. Hundreds of invisible clocks. Thousands of ticking sounds. Coming from every direction. Ethan covered his ears. "Make it stop." Just as suddenly as it began, everything became silent again. The silence felt even worse. Ryan slowly turned the camera toward a nearby mirror. For a second, the reflection showed 5 people. Not 4. A tall woman in a long black dress stood behind them. Her face was hidden beneath tangled black hair. Ryan spun around. Nobody. He looked back at the mirror. She was gone. His hands began to shake. "I'm telling you, we're not alone." Before anyone could respond, a loud scream echoed from somewhere upstairs. It sounded like a woman crying for help. "Please, help me." The voice was weak, broken, as if someone had been trapped for years. Alex looked toward the staircase. Someone could actually be alive up there. Daniel grabbed his arm. "Don't." "But what if they're hurt? What if that's exactly what this house wants us to think?" Alex hesitated. Ethan's scream echoed through the mansion. The others rushed toward him, shining their flashlights into the darkness. "There was someone behind me," Ethan shouted, breathing heavily. "I swear," someone whispered in my ear. Alex looked around the hallway. There was no one, only cracked walls, old wooden doors, and endless darkness. Ryan tried to calm him down. "Maybe it was just your imagination." Ethan grabbed Ryan's arm. "No, I felt someone's breath." The 4 friends stood silently, listening. Then they heard it, a slow dragging sound. Scrape, scrape, scrape. It was coming from the end of the hallway. Ryan pointed his camera toward the sound. The flashlight flickered. For a brief moment, they saw a long shadow disappear around the corner. Alex whispered, "Come on." They slowly followed it. Every step made the old wooden floor creak beneath their feet. At the end of the hallway, they found a small bedroom. The door was half open. Inside, everything was covered in dust. A child's bed stood near the wall. Old toys were scattered across the floor. A cracked porcelain doll sat on a wooden chair. Its head was tilted toward the door. Daniel walked closer. There are footprints. Fresh footprints. Small, like a child's. But they ended in the middle of the room. There were no footprints leading away. "It's impossible," Ryan whispered. Suddenly, the doll's head turned, slowly, creak, until it was staring directly at Ethan. Everyone froze. The room became ice cold. The flashlight beams began to flicker wildly. Then the bedroom door slammed shut. Boom. Complete darkness. Ryan desperately hit his flashlight. It came back on. The door was open again. But Ethan was gone. "Ethan!" Alex shouted. No answer. Only silence. They searched every corner of the room. Nothing. No footprints. No signs of a struggle. Only Ethan's camera lying on the floor. Ryan picked it up. The recording was still running. His hands shook as he pressed play. The video showed Ethan standing beside the doll. Then the image became distorted with static. A deep growling sound filled the recording. Something enormous moved behind Ethan. It was too dark to see clearly. Then dozens of long black hands reached out from the walls. They grabbed Ethan. He screamed. The camera fell to the floor. The last thing it recorded was a horrifying face staring directly into the lens. Its skin looked gray and rotten. Its mouth opened impossibly wide. Rows of sharp black teeth filled its mouth. Then, the video ended. Nobody spoke. Ryan slowly lowered the camera. Daniel's face had turned completely pale. This house, it doesn't kill people, it eats them. Before anyone could react, a loud chewing sound echoed somewhere inside the walls. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Alex felt sick. It can't be. Then Ethan's voice echoed through the hallway. Guys. It sounded weak, painful. I'm down here. The voice came from beneath the floor. Ryan looked at Alex. That's Ethan. Daniel immediately shook his head. No, whatever is down there, it isn't Ethan anymore. The floor suddenly trembled beneath their feet. Cracks spread across the wooden boards. Dust fell from the ceiling. The walls began to pulse, as if the entire mansion had a heartbeat. Boom, boom, boom. Ryan stared at the wall in horror. It's alive. Then, from deep inside the house, a monstrous roar shook the entire mansion. Not human, not animal, something far worse. The hunt had begun. The monstrous roar echoed through every wall of the mansion. Alex, Ryan, and Daniel stood frozen, their hearts pounding so hard they could barely breathe. Then, everything became silent. Not a normal silence. It was the kind of silence that made your ears ring. Alex tightened his grip on the flashlight. We have to find another way out. Daniel slowly shook his head. I don't think there is one. Ryan looked around. The house is changing. He was right. The hallway behind them was no longer there. The bedroom had disappeared. Instead, a long stone corridor stretched into darkness. None of them had seen it before. This wasn't here, Alex whispered. The only path left was forward. With no other choice, they walked deeper into the mansion. The air became colder with every step. A terrible smell filled the corridor. It smelled like rotten meat, mixed with damp earth, and old blood. At the end of the corridor stood a massive iron door covered with strange symbols. The symbols looked burned into the metal. Daniel brushed away years of dust. There are words written here. He slowly read them aloud. Only the hungry may enter. Before anyone touched the handle, the heavy iron door opened by itself. A freezing wind rushed out from the darkness below. Stone stairs disappeared deep underground. Ryan aimed his camera downward. I can't even see the bottom. Alex swallowed. We're going. Daniel looked at him in disbelief. Are you insane? If Ethan is alive, we can't leave him. They carefully descended the stairs. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became. Even their footsteps stopped echoing. It felt as if the darkness itself was swallowing every sound. After several minutes, they reached the bottom. Their flashlights revealed an enormous underground chamber. It was far larger than the mansion above. The walls were covered with thousands of human skulls. Some looked centuries old, others still had pieces of flesh attached. Ryan almost dropped the camera. Oh my God! In the center of the chamber stood a giant stone well. Dark liquid slowly dripped from its edges. Around it lay hundreds of torn backpacks, cameras, watches, shoes, and broken phones. Belongings from people who had never escaped. Daniel noticed an old leather journal resting on a stone table. Its pages were stained with dried blood. The first page read, Property of Father William Carter. October 17, 1956. Daniel began reading aloud. This house is not haunted. It is alive. It feeds on fear. Every soul it consumes makes it stronger. The walls are its flesh. The pipes are its veins. The basement is its heart. As long as the heart lives, the house can never die. Nobody spoke. Ryan looked around in horror. So, we've been walking inside a living creature. Suddenly, a wet thumping sound echoed beneath their feet. Thump, thump, thump. The ground moved, not like an earthquake, like a heartbeat. The enormous stone well began bubbling. A thick black liquid slowly overflowed onto the floor. Then, a human hand reached out of the darkness. It clawed at the edge. Another hand appeared, then another. Dozens of pale hands stretched upward, desperately trying to escape. Voices filled the chamber. Hundreds of voices, crying, begging, screaming, help us, don't leave us, it hurts. Ryan covered his ears. Make them stop. The voices suddenly changed. Now, every voice sounded exactly like Ethan. Alex, I'm down here, please, help me. Alex stepped toward the well. Daniel grabbed his shoulder. No, it's lying to you. Before Alex could step back, a gigantic black arm burst out of the well. It wrapped around Ryan's waist. Ryan screamed as the creature lifted him into the air. Alex, help me. Alex grabbed Ryan's arm with both hands. For a moment, it looked like he might pull him free. Then another black arm emerged. Then another. Then dozens. They wrapped around Ryan's body like giant snakes. His fingers slowly slipped from Alex's hand.